Bueno, yo creo que ya estamos, ya creo que la mayoría se ha conectado. Buenos días, muchas gracias a todos por su puntualidad. La idea de hoy es poder darles a ustedes como un valor agregado para su participación en ITB. Esto lo hacemos gracias al apoyo de SIPO, el Programa Suizo de Promoción de Importaciones, y gracias al acompañamiento que tendremos por parte de Miriam, nuestra consultora, que nos estará pues compartiendo un par de consejos prácticos para la comercialización de sus productos en la feria, incluyendo pues algunos consejos prácticos que eh, podrán implementar en estos momentos de planeación durante la feria y también después de su participación para el seguimiento de todos estos contactos comerciales que ustedes logren realizar. Solo antes de darles un poco la palabra a Sipo también para que nos haga la introducción, les quería contar pues un par de actualizaciones que tenemos en el proceso. Nosotros la semana pasada estuvimos compartiendo con ustedes algunos correos para que puedan empezar a tener acceso a la plataforma y también a sus escarapelas. Hoy también Miriam hablará un poquito del manejo de la plataforma y, y además el próximo lunes a las 9 de la mañana, el día de hoy recibirán la citación. Vamos a hacer la reunión preparativa donde les mostraremos un poco sobre el diseño del stand y podremos resolver como más dudas específicas de su participación. Algunos nos han estado preguntando cuál va a ser el número del stand que va a tener ProColombia. Vamos a estar en el hall 23, en el stand número 100, en el hall de las Américas. Y bueno, eso era un poquito como algunas noticias previas que quería dar, pero pues también dar las gracias a Tipo por este apoyo y este acompañamiento que nos está haciendo previo a ITB. También pues Miriam va a estar acompañando al equipo también presencialmente en ITB en algunos espacios para quienes pues también tengan algunas dudas y demás. Y tenemos pues un acompañamiento especial a las cuentas que participan por primera vez en esta feria. Pero sin embargo, pues queremos compartir con todos ustedes pues estos consejos prácticos que puedan ayudar a que tengan una participación mucho más eficiente y exitosa en la feria. Y bueno, pues estamos aquí dispuestos también para al final de la presentación de Miriam hacer algunas preguntas. Y bueno, nada, muchas gracias Miriam y Sipo. Y si quieren, no sé, Alejandro o Amalia, dar una pequeña introducción, adelante. No los estamos escuchando.
Hola, ¿me
Ay, perdón,
escuchan?
tuvimos fallas técnicas.
Ahora
Alejo,
sí,
¿pudiste?
listo.
Sí,
Ah,
pero
no,
la
pues muy
cámara.
buenos días a todos. Qué gusto estar con ustedes hoy y hablar un poco sobre esos consejos
Enloqueció.
prácticos y tips para sacar el máximo provecho de ITB, de la mano de una consultora de lujo que tenemos en SIPO, que es de Miriam y que nos ha apoyado bastante con otras actividades. Contarles para los que no conocen el programa SIPO, es un programa de la cooperación suiza implementado por Swiss Contact, un programa que apoya la promoción de las exportaciones para llegar a los mercados particularmente suizo y europeo, donde estamos trabajando por fortalecer las capacidades comerciales y por alcanzar mayores flujos de exportaciones y mayores flujos de visitantes hacia Colombia, visitantes por supuesto de calidad, de alto valor, y así venimos haciendo bastantes actividades junto con ProColombia y Acotur, actividades como toda la alianza que hicimos con el GSTC para formar a todos los funcionarios de ProColombia, las empresas en Acotur en todos los criterios de sostenibilidad turística. Hemos participado en varias de las ferias con ustedes también, con un consultor que ayude a fortalecer y a robustecer esas agendas comerciales y a contactarnos con PSOs, con empresas, con compradores, con mayoristas en los mercados europeos. Hemos estado en Fitur, ahora en ITB, también estuvimos en WTM y también hemos realizado actividades como el Study Tour que hicimos en Costa Rica, entre muchas otras actividades que hemos hecho de la mano con ProColombia y en ese afán por posicionarnos ante el mundo como un destino sostenible, como un destino respetuoso de los recursos naturales y culturales, pero un destino también que genera ingresos para los territorios, para los empresarios, y que buscamos crecimiento a través de ese gran motor transformador de la economía que es el turismo. Entonces, sin más, yo quisiera ceder la palabra a Miriam, que nos acompaña el día de hoy. Miriam tiene una amplísima experiencia internacional, particularmente en el mercado europeo, y nos va a ayudar hoy con unos consejos muy prácticos para participar de una manera efectiva en el ITB Berlín. No sin antes recordarles que también tenemos esta plataforma del Trade Promotion Academy, donde tenemos recursos súper valiosos, donde ustedes pueden encontrar recursos de última generación en el tema de participación en ferias, y también un curso súper valioso que ojalá lo pudieran hacer antes de ir a la feria si tienen algún tiempo, que es la caja de herramientas de promoción de destinos turísticos. Recomiendo particularmente entre las 6 herramientas está una que es la de ferias internacionales, con datos dónde conseguir compradores internacionales, cuáles son las tendencias en el mercado europeo, y cómo verdaderamente hacer de esto un proceso muy metódico que arroje resultados muy grandes para el país, por supuesto para ustedes, las empresas. Entonces, cedo la palabra a Miriam y a todos les deseo una feria muy, muy exitosa. Miriam, adelante.
Ok, gracias Amalia, gracias Manuela para la introducción. Yo soy Miriam de Suiza, and I change now to English because that's going to be the language we'll talk at ITB, or German. So also welcome from my side. I'm very pleased to support you in this important trade fair, ITB, in the preparation phase. I think I've been to ITB for, 15, 20 times. I stopped counting. I have prepared and supported a lot of companies in the preparation, in the participation, and in the follow-up phase of ITB. And today I would like to share as much as I can about my experience in this very important trade fair. I try to squeeze in as much as I can into this 60 minutes, this 1 hour, and that's not enough, we know. And some topics we can only discuss, we cannot discuss in detail, but you will get this presentation with more slides, with much more information and resources. So even if there's some things we just touch a little bit, you can have more information in the slides. Here, an overview about what we will talk about today. As you see, there's a lot of things to cover. Quick update on trends and developments in Europe, which I think are relevant for Colombia. Some trade success factors, how to find buyers, something very important for companies participating in trade fairs. And then we'll talk a bit about sales mini meetings, how to run a sales talks, briefly talk about USP and elevator pitch, and some typical tour operator questions. I'll give you some recommendations about the ITB conference program. And last but not least, we'll look at the trade fair follow-up topic. Right, development trends. With 1.4 billion international tourist arrivals recorded globally, 2024 marked the recovery of international tourism from the worst crisis in the sector's history, so the COVID-19 crisis. And the majority of destinations worldwide welcomed more international tourists in 2024 than they did before the pandemic. And we see the Middle East is actually leading this recovery, 32% above pre-pandemic levels. In general, Asia lags still a bit behind the recovery because they opened up a bit later than the rest of the world. Africa, Europe, great numbers, great growth numbers, and Americas still at 97% of pre-pandemic arrivals. However, Colombia is not is reporting actually double-digit growth rates among other destinations compared to 2019. That's good news for Colombia. We can also say Colombia is a booming destination. That's good for ITB. And I'm sure some of you are also experiencing that. And the good news is also the tourism sector is expected to grow this year 3 to 5%. And we see two major trends which are shaping or dominating 2025. We see a growing demand for sustainable travel practices and an increasing interest in exploring lesser known destinations. Well, that's the good news. We also face some challenges. Economic and geopolitical headwinds continue to pose significant risks. High transport and accommodation costs are some of the results. Other economic factors, such as volatile oil prices, are among the main challenges for 2025 faced by international tourism. As I said, geopolitical risks are growing concerns among travelers, which rank them as the third main factors after economic factors. Also, what they mention and are concerned is extreme weather events and staff shortages. Staff shortages, we still face challenges here. Against this backdrop, tourists are expected to continue to seek value for money. We come across that aspect every now and then in this presentation, in this webinar. So the main challenge is actually balancing growth and sustainability. This will be very critical for 2025. Now, I briefly looked at the numbers of the international tourist arrivals for Colombia for 2024. So these are quite new numbers. We see, if we look at Europe, France is leading. That's the main source market for Colombia. 88,000 arrivals, followed by Germany and the Netherlands. Then we have the UK, Italy, and what I'm very pleased of is also that we have Switzerland among the main source markets for Colombia. And if we compare the population with the number of tourist arrivals, we see that actually more Swiss travel to Colombia in 2024 than Germans or than French people. Even though we think Switzerland is a very small country in numbers, if we compare it with the population and the number of tourist arrivals, it is quite a relevant and interesting market. Bear that in mind. Well, German tourism market, very briefly, I'm sure a lot of you know that, a lot of you are experienced in ITB and know a lot of things about the German tourism market. It's the biggest market, largest European source market, largest economy in Europe, fairly robust, and the Germans enjoy a high standard of living in general. It is the second oldest population in Europe, so the senior travelers are an interesting and growing segment. And Germans like to travel, and they like to travel to developing countries. And holidays are very important for the Germans. And also holidays abroad. Now, if we look at some trends relevant for Colombia, earlier days, until some years ago, Colombia customers always had some direct connections to Colombia. For example, an invitation for a wedding, they would go to Colombia, or a godchild was from Colombia. So they had this direct connection, and they actually knew exactly what they wanted to do and what they wanted to visit. So they came with specific suggestions for itineraries. That's feedback I got directly from tour operators. Meanwhile, we see also more customers who have no direct relations or connections to Colombia in the last 2 years. And that also shows that the negative image Colombia had is changing. So more people are traveling to Colombia because they're impressed by the destination and not because they have a direct relation to Colombia. Individual and tailor-made offers are growing demands. More personalization is also demanded for group tours. Small group travels, some 12 packs per group, are important for the Germans. And we also see that more than 50% of the outbound German travelers, not only to Colombia, they are between 26 and 45 years old. That's an interesting segment we need to look at. This segment is also expected to grow. Rising demand for the best ages, so that's like the 50 plus. They're culturally interested, they travel in small groups, and they're active. Now, sustainability, I also briefly want to talk about sustainability. Of course, sustainability for the Germans is very important. They consider sustainable travel important. And the millennials and younger generations are even more aware of the environmental factors and aspects. However, there's still a big say-do gap. So that we don't see any fundamental change at the moment in holiday travel behavior. It is important, and people expect you to offer sustainable and environmentally friendly options. They expect you to be environmentally friendly and respect the locals, etc. And even more important for the B2B, for the tour operators. That's important, but it is not a deciding factor to go to Colombia. There's other factors which makes them decide to go to Colombia. So sustainability is not a deciding factor. CO2 compensation is stagnating because people, we've seen that in last year, people a bit, tired of the climate change debate. But it is super, super important, and we can be different from others if we do something about sustainability. People also, we can see that people also mainly engaged in activities which are easy to do. And some of the sustainable actions or activities they like to do on holidays and which we can likely promote and highlight is walking, cycling, buying regional products, climate-friendly transportation, avoid waste, etc. Characteristics of the Germans. Just briefly, Germans are usually very experienced travelers. We've traveled the world. They don't like uncertainty. The travelers, the customers don't like it, but also the tour operators don't like that. So you need to really make sure that you transparently and actively communicate with them. They like to prepare a lot. They tend to read a lot. You can't give them enough information. They will always have a question and require more information. That's very important. You might realize that in your meetings with Germans, very specific about that. They're very direct in the communication. They will tell you if they don't like something. It's a bit different from the Swiss. We're here much more diplomatic. We will not tell you if we don't like something. We just will not book with you anymore. The Germans will tell you. The Germans like to complain a lot. I'm stereotyping. I'm generalizing. Of course, not everybody is the same. But just to understand the characteristics of the German travelers a bit better. They are very punctual and very well organized and expect flexible booking terms. Avoid surprises with the Germans. No surprises being in the preparation phase of a tour or during the tour. Make sure everything runs smoothly. Try to stick to the schedule. Make sure that you stick to all the promises. You better don't include something if you're not 100% sure that it will work out smoothly and as you have promised. If possible, don't make any changes to an itineraries because they don't like changes. They can't, that's something they can't handle actually. No changes. I mean, I'm not talking about maybe a little bit older generation. They're not that flexible, I would say. Maybe the younger generation is a bit more flexible here. But just in generally speaking, try to avoid any changes. And as I said, give them as much information as possible in your itineraries, in the menu, in everything. What type of transport is included? What are the experiences? How long does that experience take? If it lasts for 2 hours, then it needs to last for 2 hours and not 2 hours and a half. They will complain. Right. What makes them influence their destination choice? Surprisingly, it's not the internet. It is family and friends, colleagues, relatives. These are the most influential sources for destination choice in general for the Germans. And here we can see there's a big difference. Here, this is for the Germans, and the green one, that's the other market. So we see they're sticking out here. Another important destination choice, travel guidebooks. They also are different from the other markets, right? I'll let you have a closer look at these slides a bit later. Influencing factors. Of course, social media is an influencing factor for majority of travelers. But the older generations are not that much influenced by social media. They prefer the more traditional methods of advertising. No surprise. Younger generations are more heavily influenced by social media. And usually, and that's interesting and typical for Germans, they mix online and offline sources at the dreaming stage and information stage. So they might read in the guidebook. At the same time, they will also search online, right? So they're mixing these different sources. Important deciding factor for destination is the affordability and the costs as well as the accessibility. So direct connections to a destination is one of the most influential factors when the Germans decide where to go on holidays. Cost, prices, inflation, big topic. Costs are very price sensitive, and the Germans always want to have a good deal. Give them this feeling. Value for money is super important. They always need to feel that they have made a good deal, that they made a good bargain, right? Give them something extra. If you cannot reduce the price, give them something special that makes them feel like, yeah, special, like if they made a good deal. It might not cost you that much. Something special, something that you can include, right? Safety and security. Super, super, super important for the Germans. They're always concerned about safety and security. The Swiss are a little bit different and more relaxed when it comes to safety and security. These aspects are super, super important. Safety, security. You might still come across some people who think Colombia is dangerous because they heard about that years ago. It might still stick in their mind, but that's something you need to highlight and point out in your communication, right? Colombia is safety. These days the other days are gone, and you need to mention that. Booking behavior here, just to point out, of course, online booking are dominating. That's not specific for long-haul destinations or Colombia. In general, Germany, more than 50% of holidays were booked online. Of course, the sun and beach holidays you can easily book online. When it comes to complex destinations, long-haul destinations such as Colombia, people tend to book offline and in travel agencies because it's not such an easy destination. It needs consultancy, it needs recommendations, right? So it's not something you can easily book online. So this is just accounts for in general for the holidays booked. Another important point I want to make here is that we see that bookings made in person currently appear to stabilize. Online bookings are increasing, and for many years we saw bookings made in person decreasing. This figure is now stabilizing. Very important. People are going back to travel agencies. Something we can also, which we saw also last year, there was an interview from TUI, I think, and they were reporting that more and more the younger generations, the 25 to 34 years old, who go back and book in travel agencies. Very interesting. We would not expect that. So the younger generation goes back to book in the travel agency. Why? Because of work-life balance. They work hard. They don't have time to research that much on the internet to find out where they want to go on holidays and where to find the best deal. They rather go to the travel agency and let them do the work. It's a good thing, and I think especially important for long-haul destinations and more complex and consultancy intense destinations such as Colombia, and also for insurance reasons. If something happens, if they book it themselves, they're left alone. All the responsibilities with them. If something happens, and something can happen very quickly, we've seen that in the past years. The whole responsibility is with the travel agency. So that's also an aspect why they are more booking in travel agencies. Distribution through retail agencies is in Germany much more relevant than in other European countries. Travel agencies and tour operators are relevant for long-haul destinations, as I said, and especially when domestic flights are involved. Then we also see that online booking platforms, OTAs, are increasingly relevant. So also like a sales channel or a route to market is to put your tours on OTAs. However, OTAs normally have their limits, especially for tailor-made tours, and you usually need to pay quite a high commission, like 20%, something like that. German travel market, very mature. There are a few big players which dominate the market, but they have quite a lot of specialized tour operators in the market, and these are the players you want to look for. There's a strong tour operators and travel agency network, very typical for Germany. You won't find that in other markets. The business is very hierarchical, so hierarchies are important for the Germans, very typical for the Germans, not as important as for the Swiss. Growth potential is there. with German tour operators. German tour operators are usually very loyal with existing DMCs. However, having said that, they're also open for new ideas. So if you have something special to offer, if you're an expert in something, and this tour operator might need that, there's an open door. There's a way into the tour operator. For example, if you might realize a lot of tour operators which are selling Latin Americas, of course, they are also selling Colombia. They already have a DMC. So they will stick with them. They're a bit very reluctant to change unless something is going wrong with the existing partner. But they're usually very loyal. So now that's very difficult for you to work with someone who already has a DMC. What happens is, in many cases, we see tour operators working with several DMCs. They might have someone for the general things, for the groups, for example. And they might work with someone different for the FIT's requests. Or they will have someone for the general tours, the traditional tours. And they might have to want to work with someone who is specialized in families. So if you're an expert in family tours, and the tour operator already has a DMC, but gets requests more and more from families, they might tell you, okay, in that case, if I have requests from families, I work with you. For the rest, I work with my existing DMC. So if you can highlight and show what makes you special in what you are expert, and you need to be expert in a niche. Don't be anything to everybody. You can't be expert in everything. And it's very, very difficult. And usually you're not an expert in everything. Of course, you can organize everything for them. But in what are you specialized? And if you can show that and highlight that, there might be a way into of working with them. So they're looking always for reliable partners. Reliability is very important and a deciding factor for the German tour operators. Now, that was about the trends, and let's look at the pre-fair phase, the preparation phase. I just wanted to actually visualize a bit the different steps or phases of a trade fair, because many companies go to a trade fair and think the most intensive time of a trade fair participation is the 3 days when I'm there. No, it's not. The preparation phase is much more intense than participation. The follow-up phase can be much more intense and time-consuming than the actual days at trade fairs. And trade fair participation is not something you go there once and it's finished. It's a process. It can last over a year. You might be busy with the trade fair preparation and follow-up for a year. And trade fair preparation phase starts not 3 weeks before the fair. It starts 3 months before the fair. And that's where many companies fail. They start contacting buyers in February, mid-February. And then they're very surprised when they realize, oh, agendas are full. And I've been arranging meetings for companies for years now. And you know when I reach out to them? It's in January. And I started reaching out to them 2 weeks ago. It was mid-January. And you know what many of them told me? Especially the Swiss. My agenda is almost full. Mid-January. Right? So if you haven't started pre-arranging meetings now, start it after that meeting. Do it now, otherwise it will be too late. You will end up being at ITB without any pre-arranged meetings, and it's going to be very, very difficult for you to get good, high-quality meetings, right? And you can't blame anybody else for that. It's your responsibility, right? I can't emphasize that enough, because companies are so surprised when they hear, okay, well, mid-January should start. I thought mid-February. No, that's very typical for ITB. For other fairs, it might be different, but for ITB, this is really typical. Okay, objectives. I think it's also important. Before we go to a trade fair, we need to be very clear, what do we actually want to get out of it? Trade fair participation is costly, time-wise, but also it needs a lot of manpower. So we need to be clear about our objectives. What do we want to get out of it? Is it number of high quality leads? Of course, that should be one of our objectives. But we can also think about, I want to learn about a certain topic, and then I go and visit conferences and panel discussions, etc. It's also a very good way and platform to learn. I want to get media coverage. Could also be one of our trade fair objectives. We need to have them very clear, and these objectives should guide our preparation, participation, and our follow-up phase. Ideally, also write down your objectives, and you need to be able to measure them afterwards. Pre-arranging meetings, promotion always works. 83% of the most successful companies were the ones that took the trouble to mail prospects and customers before the show. Taking the trouble, it is a lot of trouble. It is actually hard work. There's nothing else. There's no easy way of finding buyers or arranging meetings at trade fair. It is a lot of hard work, believe me. And a question I usually get asked is like, can you please give me a list of buyers' contacts? Yeah, I hear that very often, and always my answer is always the same. No, I can't. Data protection, first of all. Secondly, it doesn't make sense because my database of the many good contacts for Latin America might not be a good fit for you. So you need to find the right buyers which are a good fit for your product. If you're into birding, wildlife observation, and photography tours, you don't need to talk to someone which is in the adventure segment, maybe. Who's doing like hard adventures, whatever. Who's someone who's into cycling. You're not fitting. You need to find the right fit. And to find the right fit, finding the right buyers, this is super hard work. And having an understanding of your target market and how the buying process works between suppliers and buyers is essential. I have now collected some resources, and I will not go into detail here. You can find a lot of databases of potential buyers, exhibitors directories of free, for example, in Munich, Ferienmesse Wien, IMEX, CMT Stuttgart. They have usually lists, exhibitor directories of their exhibitors. And these exhibitors can be potential partners for you. Start creating your own database. Now, if you don't have that yet, and a customer relationship management system can also be, doesn't need to be a system. It can also be a simple Excel file, but you need to have a file where you start collecting the contacts of potential buyers, of potential customers. These are just examples. It's not complete, of course, just recommendations. You can also look for websites of tourism sector associations like LATA. Also, Pacific Asia Travel Association, PATA. That's for the Pacific Asia Travel, for that area. Their members for the Germany chapter, some of them are also selling Latin America. Right? We have ARGE. Some of you might be a member of them. Arbeitsgemeinschaft Lateinamerika. Members committed to promoting tourism in Latin America might be potential customers for you, etc. So you have them for different. For each country, you usually have some sort of sector association. Check for their members database. Then match and meet. We heard in the introduction, you got access to the match and meet platform, I think last week. You have, on one hand, you have the ITB Navigator. That's where your exhibitor profile is listed. Make sure that the information is there. You can add your logo, you can add pictures, you can add text, social media platforms, videos, presentations. Make sure that your profile is up to date and attractive. People will look for that. And on the Match and Meet platform, you can start. You also need to register, and usually you should have gotten also from ProColombia, you get an access code, and that's actually also your ticket. You need to register with that code. And then you're also automatically registered for this Match and Meet platform. At the moment, there are not yet that many buyers listed there, to be honest with you. The thing is, and that's very typical for ITB and for Germany, the thing is that meetings are often arranged outside of this platform. So tour operators who have existing contacts do that by email in January, not through the platform. So the meetings with existing clients are usually arranged outside of the platform by email, traditional way. And if they're looking for new partners, these meetings might be are more likely to be arranged through this Match and Meet platform. So you need to work both ways. You need to reach out to the buyers by email. Once you find a company where you think, okay, that's a good match. They're into wildlife observation, bird watching. Try to find out the contact person in charge for Latin America. The good thing is, for Germany, you might be likely to find this information. Not the same for UK. There you won't find that person, and not even the name or the email address. For Germany, it's typical that you might find this information. Sometimes you even find the email address there. You see, Maike Müller, product manager for Latin America, email address. This is great. This is really great. It is hard work. You need to do your homework and you need to do your research. Right. So the other way is to work through that platform. Be very selective also here. There's a lot of companies who are not, or buyers or sellers, which are not registered in the correct way. Outbound, a few words about that. What is outbound? Inbound is when you sit at the ProColombia stand, people come and visit you, pre-arranged meetings or some spontaneous visits, some drop-ins. And outbound, that's what we call when you go out and visit potential customers at their stand. Now at ITB, because it used to be also a B2C, a consumer fair. So until before the COVID, it was like Saturday, Sunday was the consumer days. That has changed now. It's only B2B. We still have some companies, some tour operators with their own stand. Diamir, Studiosus, Miller Reisen, Aventura, etc. They have their own stand there. Now, you can try to pre-arrange meetings with them or visit them at their booth without any pre-arranged meeting. But you need to have a plan for that. You need to be very clear. What do you want to say? Don't just drop your business card. That's what we call business card dropping. Don't do that. I remember the guy from Diamir telling me, that's what people do. Business card dropping. You know what happens with these business cards? They go directly into the bin. Waste of marketing material. Don't do that. Have a plan if you approach these tour operators which have an own stand at the trade fair. Think about what is your pitch? What is your elevator pitch? We'll talk about that a bit later. Now, ATTA, the Adventure Travel Trade Association, also has their Travel World Summit every year, and they always have a delegates list. That's also a platform where you can look for buyers, where you can fill your buyers database, right? Tour operators listed on sustainable tourism platforms. Forum an das Reisen, Association of Tour Operators committed to sustainable tourism. Their members have a certification like TourCert. You can search for the members. The names are there. You find out contact person for Latin America, email address. You can even call them up actually and ask for the person in charge for Latin America. Usually they are quite open to share this information, but you need to call them if you don't get an answer by email. TourCert, Travel Life, they also have a list of their members. And same for Tourism Equitable for France. Tourism declares climate emergency, another platform where you find companies which are committed to sustainability. You find the names here. If you're committed to sustainability, here we have at least one match, right? They're also committed and are aware about and care about the environment. Just ideas where you can find buyers. Internet research, classical thing. Use keywords, Reisen Kolumbien, nachhaltige Reisen Kolumbien, etc. And then visit the tour operator's website, check for the destinations. Are they selling Colombia or not? Do they sell Central America, maybe not Latin America. Maybe they want to do that in future. Maybe they want to sell Colombia in future. What type of doors are they selling? Who's their target group? Of course, many websites will be in German, but you can easily use Google Translation. And you will understand a bit if you look at their tours, what are they selling? It's usually you can get an idea of what are they selling, what is their target segments. And then think about, are we actually a good match? Is this a potential business partner for me? If yes, try to reach out to them. Always think about, before reaching out, what might this tour operator need? Are they already selling my destination? What would be the benefit for them of working with me? What can I offer them which they don't yet have? What can be my anchor actually? What attracts their attention? Never ever send mass emails. I know many do that. Tour operators receive loads of emails every day. Before trade fairs, ITB, I don't know, hundreds of emails they get. They have limited time to read and respond to them. Each and every correspondence needs to be addressed in a personal way. And I cannot emphasize that enough. And personalization is not just changing the name. Manually write the email. I know it's hard work. It's worth it. Certain things you can, of course, copy. But at least the first 3 sentences, that's what people read. And you need to be able to catch their attention in the first 3 sentences. Otherwise, they will delete it. So what do you actually offer? Why should they meet with you? That needs to be crystal clear right at the beginning. And then, of course, you can send them like a 1 page as an attachment, which summarizes what you do and in what you are expert. It really needs to be crystal clear what you do and what is your USP. Short emails. Think about, put yourself in the tour operator's position. Would you read this email or would you just delete it? Here's some examples, negative examples, real examples I got from Feed Tour. I can immediately tell that this person has not read my website. Make them realize that you have done your homework, that you have invested time in searching on their website. If they understand that you have done that, they're more likely to reply to you if they like your product. If they realize, and we can immediately tell it's a copy-paste email, which has been sent to hundreds of others. If they realize that, they will not reply to you. Here are some examples. Same accounts for when you use the Match and Meet platform, using online platforms. Each and every message needs to be personalized. People don't do that. And here you have limited space, but you have enough space to catch their attention actually, right? That's an examples from WTM. I got these emails. I would like to invite you to discuss about Destination Qatar. I'm not interested in Destination Qatar at all. What do you think? It's a waste of time, of their time and my time actually. Don't do that. You better don't reach out to anybody than just copy pasting emails which are not relevant, which are not targeted to people which are not a good fit. Find out the contact person responsible for your destination. As I said, you can find that on the website very often of German tour operators. Selective, don't contact everybody. Be prepared before you contact the tour operator. If you've been to trade fairs before, approach your existing contacts. It's always easier if you have been in contact before. And you need to reach out to them in January, because that's when they fix the meetings with the existing contacts, right? Start developing your buyers database. We talked about that before. Unique selling proposition, something you need to have ready. And it also needs to be very clear in your communication material, right? Why do we need a USP? Buyers, tour operators are usually flooded with business proposals every day. You must be different and unique if you want to catch their attention. You must be this blue duck You must stick out of the crowd. It must be clear in the first 3 sentences. Why are you special? What makes you special? Why should they work with you and not with someone else? That needs to be clear. Some tips for the creation of a USP. You need to be clear about the most important benefit your product has, the value. Whose needs does your product meet? The target market for your proposition. And what makes you different from the competition? What makes you actually unique? You can ask your colleagues. You can also ask your existing customers. Why do they choose to work with you? I can also help. Here a collection of what everybody says, in my opinion, no real USPs. But everybody thinks it's a USP. We're a reliable company, cheapest price, we're experienced, we offer tailor-made tours. That doesn't make you special. That's what you do. That's what we expect. Tour operators expect that from you, right? Reliability, we take that for granted. Best guides, it's also something I always have to smile a bit, it's the best. You don't have the best guides because the best doesn't really exist. It's your personal, that's what you think. These are the best guides. We have very knowledgeable guides. It's better to say that than the best guides. It's usually a lie if we say we have the best tours, we have the best guides, we have the, I don't know. Yeah, it's usually not true. Think about, these are not, everybody says that. Everybody, right? Safety of clients, that, of course, that's precondition. That's the basis, right? I like this one. Why do you say that your coffee is second best? Because everybody else says theirs is the best. We don't want to exaggerate. I really want like that. Second best coffee in town. No. Some golden rules. Base your USP on proof points and your value proposition. Be realistic, be relevant. Choose something with a real benefit for your customers. Be simple, precise, and concise. Don't copy. Spread the word. Share USP on your marketing material. Elevator pitch. 30 seconds. In 30 seconds, that's the time an elevator takes to go from up to the 10th floor. And that's time for you to get across your message and to get the other person interested in what you have to sell. Why do we need a pitch? It doesn't matter what you are selling. Maybe it's an idea for a new business, an existing product or service or project. It also doesn't matter who you are selling it to. Maybe they're an investor, a potential customer, or potential client. And now, in order to have a chance of closing the deal, you first need the audience to listen to what you have to say. And a successful pitch is where the other person relaxes and says, interesting, tell me more. That's the only thing you need to remember about the elevator pitch. That's the reaction you want to get, right? Interesting, tell me more. It's a basic introduction to whatever it is what you're selling. And don't give them too much information. Don't overwhelm them or confuse them because they will tune out, right? You just want them to go, interesting, tell me more. And always bear in mind, people are busy. Imagine you want to communicate with someone who has 17 other things to do. How can you catch their attention? You can be very creative here. Some rules: use everyday language, be specific about your audience, target audience, memorize your speech, practice loud, and get comfortable with what you have to say. That was a very short, introduction into USP and elevator pitch. We could spend hours on that topic, but let's now look at the phases of a sales talk. And I think it is relevant if we are aware of the different phases of the sales talk. And in general, we can say we have 4 phases in a sales talk, in a meeting, actually, in a sales meeting. And that's the contact phase, analysis, proposal, and negotiation phase. And at the end, we have the closure phase. Now, in the contact phase, how does actually a potential customer decide to talk further with you? It is the first impression. It's about building a bridge, a relationship. And in the contact phase, that's where you need your elevator pitch to catch their attention. And in the contact phase, we start already building this bridge, right? How does they decide to work with you? It's actually when they realize what benefits you or your products bring to them. What value do you bring to them? That's when they decide to work with you. And that's when they realize the benefits you bring to them or you bring to their customers, right? It's all about trust and reliability. If they don't trust you, they will not work with you. So this first contact phase, this first phase is very crucial. You know, it's about milliseconds, which decide if they like you or not. It's milliseconds. Analysis phase. That's the phases where we have the questions. Why do we need questions? We need to find out who's the tour operator like? What are the clients like? We need to understand the customer's needs. And we need questions to lead a conversation. The one who is questioning, who's asking, is the one leading the conversation. We have different type of questions. In general, 2 type of questions. We have the open-ended questions. It's a question where the partner can't easily say no. It's the why, what, who, how many, how long, how much questions. They need to tell you a bit more than just yes or no to such a question. You can use this questioning technique to find out about their target groups, their target markets, what type of tours they sell, etc. What do they actually need? What kind of services do you need? Here are some examples. What was your experience with your clients? Try to involve your customer, get precise information. These are open questions. We need to be very well aware about these questions because we can really guide a conversation in a sales talk if we manage to use this question in the right way. If you use closed questions, that's when the answer to the question is yes or no. If you use too many closed questions at the beginning, the conversation is finished within 3 minutes. Yes, no, okay, bye. Now you want to spend a bit more time with the customer. That's when you need to use open questions. Closed questions we usually use more towards the end of a conversation to get also precise and quick answer to conclude a discussion or make a decision. For example, is this the kind of product you are looking for? So to be clarification. Are we all clear about that? Do we all agree? Right? Something what happens very often at trade fairs, people are talking. And then they realize, oh, I was talking to a marketing agency who wanted to sell me something. Oh, waste of time. I actually want to sell something. I don't want to buy something. That's something we really need to be aware of. We need to listen actively. That's what we usually don't do. We just present our product. We want to sell our product. Our objective should not be to sell in the first stage, right? Don't just present what you have. Ask some questions. And I mean, an art is also, if you can, while you're presenting, and that's in the proposal negotiation phase, that you ask questions in the when you're presenting. That's not easy. Something you need to practice a bit. So while presenting, you can ask questions, right? It should be a natural conversation. That's something you want to have. Offer what you have based on the needs. You find out in the analysis phase. If your potential partner is interested in oranges, talk about oranges, not bananas. Something that happens quite often is that people talk about something the tour operator is not really interested. And sometimes tour operators tell them that they're not interested, but people keep talking about it. That's when we don't actively listen. In the negotiation phase and proposal phase, we also summarize in our own words and we also check for understanding. Objections for the tour operator. Here's some examples you might come across. You're not looking for a new partner. We don't sell Colombia. Your price is too high. We already have a reliable DMC. Think about what could be your answer. Be prepared for these objections. Some questions from tour operator questions for accommodation providers. How many nights are recommended to stay at your lodge? Where is your accommodation located? How long does it take from the airport to your lodge, etc.? How is the accessibility? How many rooms? How big are the rooms? Germans have a lot of questions, as I said. Other questions could be, do you have French, German speaking guides? Prices, commission, what is included, excluded? Some questions for you as a tour operator or DMC. How's the safety situation in Colombia? Be prepared for that. When is the best season to travel? Again, guides, language of guides. How do you check supplies? Or something related to sustainability? Here's some questions related to sustainable tourism. Do you have environmentally friendly practices? Do you have certification, a policy? Do you have a sustainability checklist? What do you do to protect the environment? Here are some questions you can actually ask tour operators. Something you also need to think about. Here's some examples of questions. What is the activity, the fitness level of your clients? If you're more into hiking, trekking, adventure type of activities, things you can also prepare. I'll share some more questions with you afterwards. Closure phase, that's where you fix next steps. That's a very important phase, and we often don't have enough time for that phase. Who will send what and how? So PDF, data sheet, prices. When is the next point of contact? How do you communicate? By email, phone, WhatsApp, etc. So what is the next step? Be very clear about that. That's key to success. We often don't fix the next steps in our follow-up or in this phase. Fix next steps and no, this time may be a yes next time. We need to be very patient, right? Now, some recommendations for the ITB convention program. It is, as I said before, it's a great thing. Great conference program. We have different stages and different topics here, different colors. The blue stage, we have the orange, the red stage, green stage with different topics. They're dedicated to different topics, right? And here, some recommendations, have a look at them. And yeah, some for the blue stage, some from the e-traveler stage. And this is all for free. So if you have time, if there's two of you there, if you find as you have some free time, go and have a look at these programs. It's really great. It's a great source of information. Yeah, trends. You can learn so much. And here, there's on one hand the conference program, and there's also other events going on, like workshops, evening events, pitches, press conferences, awards, ceremonies, etc. They're not yet live. That's going to happen in 1 or 2 weeks, mid-February. That should be there. So it's a great way to network. Networking is also, beside the pre-arranged meetings, is a great way where you can meet potential buyers. Here are some recommendations of things which will happen. I already know about them. It's ATTA networking. Every year they have a networking event. Great platform, great opportunity. Travel Life Ceremony Awards, also great way of meeting like-minded people. Then To Do Award, Green Destination Story Awards, great opportunities to network. Speed networking, just to have mentioned that, you need to register. I think it's until the 15th of February. Register if you're interested in doing that. Free participation, and you need to have at least one confirmed appointment to be able to take part in the ITB Speed Network. Think about it, something worth trying. Follow up. What is the most important thing when it comes to follow up? How can we bridge this gap from the contact to the contract? It's trust. It needs a lot of trust. And that's now the phase which can take over a year. Sometimes we realize, for whatever reason, it can take months and sometimes years. We need to be patient. And as I said, a no this time can be a yes next time. Be persistent, be patient. But that's the most difficult thing. I'm not saying it's easy. But your follow-up already starts at the trade fair. If you document all the meetings in a proper way, if you note down as much information as possible, then you can be quite efficient and successful in your follow-up. And then you can personalize your follow-up. That's just like a template or an example of how you can structure your follow-up. Note down as much information as possible. And people tend to not write down enough information. And then after the 10th meeting, they realize, oh, what did I talk with this? I think it was about that. And they just send everything to everybody. They send the same. And they wonder why they don't get a reply. Because your follow-up was not personalized. Right? Your follow-up also needs to be personalized. Note down all the details. I know it's a bit, people don't like to do that, but it is worth it. Believe me. If the buyer tells you something about their kids, or the kids are sick, we're sick, you can take that as an anchor. I hope your kids are better now. You have the anchor, you have this personal relation, right? And that's what you want. An email which is personalized to me, I will feel bad if I'm not replying to it. If I realize the email is standard, copy paste to everybody else, I don't feel bad if I just delete it. Right? Or if I follow up, if I answer it after 5 months. Your follow-up needs to be individual, personalized. Send whatever was requested. Only send what was requested. What we often see is that companies send loads of things. 7 attachments, big attachments, sizes too big. Presentation, 3 flyers, the price sheet, and then a link to the picture gallery. But the buyer only wanted the pictures, nothing more. Only send what was requested. How about follow-up by WhatsApp? Also something to talk about. WhatsApp in Europe, I would say, is stick to email in the first stage. Ask the buyer if they want to be contacted by WhatsApp. Usually we use WhatsApp for personal communication. Be careful with WhatsApp communication. I know in Latin America and other countries and regions, WhatsApp is what we use for business. Europe, Germany is a bit different, is specific. Be careful, right? Ask them in your closure phase. Some golden rules, thank you emails. I would be careful. We also see people just sending thank you emails in masses. That's another email that buyer needs to delete. I would not do it. Agree in your closure phase when they expect your reply or your offer. Sometimes you will realize they tell you, okay, send me the email in 3 weeks because when I get back, I'm fully loaded with work. I will not reply to your email. I might forget it and I might delete it. Send it to me in 3 weeks, but you need to fix that. You're on time, take the time, reserve enough time and personal for the follow-up. Afterwards, practice what you preach, deliver on your promise. Should the buyer read and respond to your email? Bear that in mind. How can you stick out from the crowd? Always personalize your email. Use anchors from your conversation. Be concise, provide what you have agreed on. Don't overload your emails. Make it easy for the buyer to find the information. We see it very often that people say, for further information, visit our website. No, make it easy for the buyer to find the information. Summarize it in 3 sentences, what it is about. Clear and transparent. Call to action. That's my last recommendation here. Call to action in your email. What's the next step? So you've sent the things, but you have agreed. What's next? And we usually write, I'm looking forward to hearing from you. That's not a call to action. Tell me what you think about. Yeah, that's a bit better. But what is the next step? We need to fix this next step and the call to action in our email. We often don't do that. Some examples. Here, that's a good example. The other one were not ideal examples. I let you read and have a look at these examples afterwards. And I let you think about if you would reply to someone. That's an example from someone who has followed up after 3 months only. Too late, never gets a reply. And this is just a copy-paste email, right? And we can immediately tell. Right, let me finish and this session, because now my 60 minutes are over, with a quote of Colin Powell. There are no secrets to success. It is the result of preparation, hard work, and learning from failure.